I am Canadian!
Welcome to Trump's New World Order, where every country is a casino, every border is a paywall, and every leader owes him rent. So let's be clear, Canada is not Texas. It's not Florida. It's not some bargain bin US colony that Trump goes to slap a golf course on.
We stand together, we believe in healthcare, human rights, and call me crazy, not being ruled by a reality TV star with a felony record.
This week, no, Trump didn't scrap the tariffs, he just paused them for 30 days, like a landlord giving you a 1-month eviction notice and calling it mercy.
Because nothing says economic stability like running a country on Trump's mood swings.
One day it's all-out trade war, and the next it's, we'll see, what's next? He makes Canada spin a giant MAGA roulette wheel to decide our economy. And while holding our economy hostage, he's also out there fantasizing about expanding the USAID to the entire Western Hemisphere and turning Gaza into a beachfront resort. Tens of thousands of people are dead, families wiped out, a region in crisis. And Trump? He's looking for a real estate deal.
His son-in-law, Jared Kushner, yeah, you remember him. The last time Trump was in office, Jared was in charge of this region. He was cutting deals, selling weapons, getting oil money, and he walked away from there with $2 billion from the Saudis. And in case anyone forgot, Trump's real estate record, it's not just bad, it's corrupt as hell. The man doesn't build properties, he builds lawsuits with their own concierge.
Trump Tower Moscow? So shady it made the Kremlin look transparent. His business partner? A Russian mobster with Putin on speed dial. Trump Tower Toronto? We know this one, was marketed as a can't-miss investment until it went bankrupt, investors lost everything, and Trump walked away richer than ever. At this point, Trump's real estate empire is just a global money laundering scheme with a loyalty program.
No credit? No problem. Just be a foreign oligarch. You know, I thought MAGA voted for America first. No more wars and no more world police. Instead, Trump's out there playing real estate risk. He's trying to annex Canada, buy Greenland, and he's trying to strong-arm Mexico, Panama, and Colombia like he's some kind of washed-up mob boss trying to expand his turf.
Now America First has somehow turned into America Everywhere for the right price. Because let's be real, Trump isn't some master strategist thinking 5 moves ahead. He's the guy at the casino betting everything on red and calling it business genius. But I know what you're thinking. There's rules, right? International laws. Trump can't just bulldoze cities and claim land like he's in some twisted game of civilization.
Oh, bless your heart. You really think the laws apply to him? And if you think that corruption stops at the US border, think again.
Because while Trump is trying to buy up the world like a failing casino, we've got our own problems right here in Canada. Our very own MAGA wannabes rolling out the red carpet for him.
Pierre pivoting Poilievre and Danielle Sellout Smith, the dynamic duo of Canadian disaster. They're not standing up for Canada, they're standing in line to kiss Trump's ring.
I think Poilievre is just auditioning to be Canada's Ron DeSantis. He rails against the elites while flying in private jets to billionaire fundraisers. He screams about freedom while cozying up to a guy who wants to control women's bodies and police gender identity.
Hey, trucker convoy crowd, where's that freedom energy now? And then there's Danielle Smith, the woman who hears fentanyl crisis and thinks, I know what'll fix this, strip search grandma at the border.
She's literally parroting Trump's talking points like she's his Alberta press secretary. She's pushing his nonsense about fentanyl despite the fact.
Do we have to reiterate the facts again? Less than 1% of illegal border crossings into the US come from Canada. Less than 1% of fentanyl into the US originates from Canada.
Maybe clean up your own backyard before you start trying to become the world police.
But that's the MAGA playbook. deflect and blame. But sure, let's appoint a Fentanyl Czar, because apparently we're back in 1917 and Trump thinks he's the Emperor of Russia.
Have you ever wondered why they keep parroting old Russian sayings? Clear to me.
Canada punches above its weight. We may not have mega-sized propaganda machines, but we have something better. Unity, intelligence, resilience, and a whole lot of fight.
Trump wants us to feel defeated, to think we don't have a choice. But history tells us otherwise. We stood up to bullies before, and we're sure as hell gonna do it again. And if Trump wants to act like he's at war with us, let's take a moment to reflect on the United States' track record in warfare.
Canada has never started a war for its own gain. We have shown up for our allies, including the United States. We do the work and we win alongside our partners.
The US, though, well, their track record is, well, not so great. War of 1812? Tried to annex Canada but got their White House burned down instead. Vietnam, they lost to a guerrilla force in sandals. Afghanistan and Iraq, they spent trillions of dollars trying to build a democracy only for the Taliban to waltz back in within weeks and tear it down. Then there's the Bay of Pigs. The US tried to take over Cuba and got humbled so hard they still hold a 60-year-old grudge.
They tried to invade, got humiliated, and ended up with egg on their faces.
And knowing today's US economy, those eggs probably cost about $12 a dozen.
Little old Cuba beat the US, and that's why the Republicans still hold a grudge to this day.
And in 2020, when Trump tried to bully us on trade, we hit back and we won. And the best part, he's still fighting against his own trade deal from back then. He negotiated the deal we have right now with the US. It was his trade deal. That he's arguing against is a bad deal.
Loser! And really, how can we forget the habit of the US just picking and choosing when to show up? So let's talk about all the world wars for a moment.
Canada was in from the start, and not for self-interest, but to fight for democracy. World War I, Canada joined in 1914.
And the US, they finally jumped in 3 years later in 1917, only after Germany started sinking their ships and trying to get Mexico to attack them.
World War II, Canada declared war on Germany in 1939.
They didn't declare war until 1941 after Pearl Harbor forced their hands.
And let's not forget, how did the US end World War II?
With the atomic obliteration of 2 Japanese cities.
They also managed to give those bombs cute little code names like Little Boy and Fat Man.
Because why take responsibility when you can just slap a cute nickname on devastation and pretend it never happened?
Tens of thousands vaporized in an instant. And yet, the US still paints itself as the moral compass for the world.
I'm really proud to see how Canada has united these past few weeks, but we have to remain vigilant because it's easy for it all to fall apart. Because let's get something straight. Trump and his goons, they don't want to just mess with our economy. They want to break us apart. If Canadians are too busy fighting each other, then we'll be too distracted to stop them from taking over.
And guess who's leading the charge? None other than Steve I haven't showered since 2016 Bannon. He's been cozying up to Alberta extremists, whispering sweet nothings about separatism, and trying to convince Albertans that breaking away from Canada is somehow a win.
Yeah, because nothing says freedom like selling your province off to a country that can't even keep its own citizens out of medical bankruptcy.
And let's be real, this is a MAGA scam with Danielle Smith leading the charge. It's not about independence, it's about handing Alberta over to Trump and replacing our national parks with oil rigs.
And who benefits most? Not Canadians, not Albertans, just the same billionaire puppet masters funding all this nonsense.
Kevin O'Leary, anyone? If Trump's plan is to divide and conquer, then the answer is simple. We don't let them divide us.
And Alberta, listen, I was born in Alberta, and Dave and I have explored Alberta at least a dozen times. We've seen your landscapes, your community, and your spirit.
But we want you to know that Canada stands with you. Always has and always will.
For those who support Smith, it's time to ask yourself,
Do you really think Trump and his MAGA buddies care about Alberta's future? Do you really think you'll have the same rights, freedoms, and security if Trump starts calling the shots?
has any country ever been taken over and had it turned into a happily ever after fairy tale? No, let's be realistic. We will be second-class citizens as a U.S. state.
Canada isn't perfect, but it's ours, and we fight for what's ours as Canadians.
And I do hope that Canada will not fall for any of this, because we've seen this before. We saw what happens when MAGA tore apart the US, and we saw what happens when you let chaos candidates burn everything down. And Pierre Poilievre wants nothing but chaos.
He refuses to apply for national security clearance.
Because why would a guy who wants to be prime minister need access to classified intelligence? It's only, his job.
And here is why this matters. Without security clearance, Poilievre can say whatever he wants about national security, fentanyl, China, Russia, without ever having to back it up with facts.
Right, because if he doesn't officially know the truth, he can just claim ignorance when he gets called out. I never knew that. I never saw the reports. Trudeau refused to tell me.
It's called plausible deniability, and it's right out of the MAGA playbook. If you never have access to the truth, you can never be held accountable for spreading lies. A MAGA specialty.
And just in case you were wondering, every leader of the opposition before PP has gotten clearance. But PP, he'd rather play the role of being Canada's loudest Twitter troll. And it's time for Canadian media to step up. For years, the CBC and CTV have bent over backward trying to look balanced. They've let this happen while right-wing extremists have hijacked the conversation. They've platformed conspiracy theories, they've given free airtime to bad faith politicians, and they've refused to call out MAGA-style disinformation for what it is.
Meanwhile, billionaires are turning Canadian media into Fox News North. Post Media, already half owned by American hedge funds, and their mission? Run Trump-style attack pieces against Canadian institutions every single day.
We don't need Canadian Tucker Carlsons foaming at the mouth about woke mind viruses. We need real journalism. Stop platforming misinformation in the name of balance and start holding politicians accountable.
You want to see what real journalism looks like? Follow Sean O'Shea of Global News. He doesn't coddle to politicians, he calls out corruption no matter what side it's on, and he challenges liars, grifters, and frauds on camera. Canada is not Texas. We're not buying the fear-mongering, the fake culture wars, or the us versus them nonsense. We stand together. We don't let billionaires and political con artists tell us who our enemies are.
And no Trump-backed con job is going to change that.
It's really crazy each week to watch how Trump and Elon Musk are dismantling the US.
There are so many heartbreaking things that are happening, from DEI to detaining migrants, to the government clearouts and firings. But one thing that we would like to touch on is USAID.
It's honestly heartbreaking what is happening to USAID. We saw firsthand the impact they had when we worked with them in Kyrgyzstan. Real, life-changing work.
USAID wasn't just about helping other countries, but it actually benefited America too. It employed thousands of Americans, from aid workers to logistic experts, and it helped stabilize regions, which in turn boosted the U.S. trade and security.
But of course, first Trump slashed its funding, and now Musk has gone full scorched earth and dismantled it. Because apparently investing in global stability isn't as exciting as launching another vanity rocket.
USAID, it was a smart strategy. It built markets for American businesses, it created allies, and it prevented crisis that would have cost the US way more in the long run. But now, it's gone, just like that. And the world, including America, is worse off for it.
So what's our message here? The same it's always been. Sorry, Trump, Canada is not for sale. If you think you're going to bully, scam, or buy your way into Canada, you need to think again.
Yeah, Canada doesn't do dictators. We don't do cult leaders, and we sure as hell don't do Trump-branded takeovers.
Sorry, bud. Canada's not for sale.
So if you are ready to join the fight against false information and all of the tyranny that Trump and Musk are spreading around the world, share this video and start spreading the truth as much as you can.
Canada strong.